It's Tuesday in Simpsonville, South Carolina. It's been a beautiful day, and we've just been enjoying the weather. I was interested in looking back at a couple of messages I preached in Mark chapter 3. I outlined that particular chapter. It's verses 1 through 35. And you find Jesus in 4 scenes. The first scene is in the church or synagogue. The second scene is at the Sea of Galilee, that is. And the third scene is found in the mountains. That's the mountains that go up, looming up behind the Sea of Galilee, around Capernaum. And the last scene is at the house, which was probably a base for Jesus' operations while he was around the Sea of Galilee. Interestingly enough, he's doing 4 different things at the 4 different scenes. First, he's showing his compassion at the church, the synagogue. And then he's showing his conquering at the sea. And then he's showing his calling in the mountains. And at the house, he's doing something a little bit different. He is actually giving some correction. So we have compassion, we have conquering, we have calling, and we have correcting. So we have 4 scenes, 4 different actions. What does that all say to you? Well, Jesus can work anywhere. He can work in the church. We saw that Sunday with people making decisions to accept Christ. He can do it down by the sea. It doesn't matter if it's land or water. Jesus can work there just as well as any other place. The mountains, it doesn't matter if it's the sea or the mountains. He can do what he wants to do there. And in the house, private setting. Most of the time we find multitudes around Jesus in this particular chapter. We find parallel passages in Luke and elsewhere. But let's take a look at these 4 scenes over the next 4 devotions in the church or the synagogue. It tells us that there's a man there with a withered hand. Now, I don't know how obvious he was placed there, but it says that his adversaries, the scribes and the Pharisees, they were all looking to see if Jesus would heal on the Sabbath, because they considered that work. And Jesus was a master of knowing the hearts of man as he does today. He knows our hearts. And he knew that they were trying to trick him. What we see is the lack of compassion based on the ones that were watching to see if he would heal. They cared nothing about the man with the withered hand. And yet they were interested to see if they could trap Jesus. But Jesus put them on the horns of dilemma, which means no matter what you answer, you're going to be wrong. It's like asking somebody if they stopped beating their wife. If he says, yes, they did, then he one time must have beat his wife. If he said, no, he hasn't, then he was still beating his wife, you see. It's the horns of dilemma. There's no answer for that question, or yes or no. And so Jesus asked the horns of dilemma question. Is it wrong to do right on the Sabbath? And guess what? They couldn't answer that question. And Jesus, with all of his compassion, all of his power, healed the man with the withered hand. It's a great story because it tells us once again that Jesus can supernaturally. He can supernaturally, or he can through doctors heal people. Now, he doesn't always do that. It wouldn't take any faith to be a Christian if every person that believed was healed of everything that came across their way. I've been around this world way too long to think that God is going to heal everybody from every kind of physical or mental difficulty that they have in life. But I do know that he can, anyone, anytime, anywhere, because he has compassion. And he can do it through doctors, he can do it through medicine, or he can do it supernaturally as he did here. So we see scene 1 concluded with Jesus victorious, puts his enemies on the horns of dilemma, heals the man with the withered hand. He does it all in the setting of the church. It's a great setting, isn't it? God does some wonderful things in church. That's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.